Okie dokie. Imagine I just cut off your legs. Actually, no need to imagine, just give me a second. Sorry, just one more. Okay, I just cut off your legs. What do? Well, you're probably thinking, oh my god, this insane person just cut off my legs! I gotta get away! So obviously, first instinct is to run. However, you have no legs. You have no way of running away. You are stuck with me forever. Unless you just so happen to have played this one game, the one that had a character who could run without legs. What was it called again? Oh yeah, Katawa Shoujo is a visual novel that came from 4chan. It's actually got a very interesting development history. Anyway, its main gimmick is that it's a dating sim for girls with disabilities. Lilly is blind, Shizune is deaf, Hanako is shy, Rin is just Rin, and Emi has no legs. If you've never heard of this game, it's actually coming out on Steam if you want to check it out, this probably sounds like the worst thing to ever exist. How dare 4chan sexualize disabilities? Can their depravity get any worse? But what you don't realize is that Katawa Shoujo is actually a great game. We begin with our main character Hisao, who's doing a dating sim speedrun for fastest confession of all time. He's been called out by his crush Iwanako, who tells him that she really likes him. Hisao is flabbergasted. He can't even speak right now. His heart is beating a mile a minute. Actually, that might be a bit too fast. Hisao? Hisao? So bad news, Hisao actually has arrhythmia, a condition that causes your heart to beat erratically, which can be fatal. Even worse news, his heart just blueballed him and ruined Iwanako's confession. Not the worst thing I've seen a heart do to a girl, but still pretty bad. The worst news of all, Iwanako is not the only relationship his heart has ruined. Being stuck in a hospital all day, the only human interaction Hisao can have is when he gets visitors. And at the start, the entire class came over, wishing him well and hoping he gets better soon. But as his hospital stay continued to get longer, the amount of people soon started to dwindle, until the only one left was Iwanako. And eventually, even she decided to stop coming as well. Hisao was finally able to be released from hospital, but due to the arrhythmia, it's deemed too unsafe for him to return to his old school. Still dealing with the emotions from both his newly discovered heart condition and the loss of every friend he's ever had, he's forced to transfer to Yamaku Academy, a school dedicated to people with disabilities, which just so happens to be the same school our heroines go to. What a crazy coincidence. While Hisao is still trying to get used to his new environment, he runs into one of the heroines, or more accurately, she runs into him, straight into his chest, where his heart is. Actually, it's way too early for a bad end. Get back up, Hisao. The girl that ran into him is called Emi, a track runner whose superpower is that her legs don't get tired. She quickly apologizes, gets scolded for almost causing a fatality, and runs off again. After recommendations to go get some exercise to improve his heart, Hisao decides to visit the track in the morning, where he again runs into Emi while she's practicing. While running together, the way you lock into Emi's route is to push yourself while racing her, which also causes your heart to start racing as well. Honestly, it's weird how many times Emi causes Hisao to have a heart attack. If I had a penny, kinda romantic in a way, best girl literally makes your heart skip a beat. Now, I'm just gonna be straight up with you, I think Hisao and Emi are the best couple in the entire game. Even before they start dating, which spoiler alert, this is a dating sim, these two have such great chemistry together. The playful banter they have, teasing each other back and forth, it just makes me happy watching them. Not to mention, Emi is both Hisao's and my motivation for wanting to exercise. There's a reason why Emi's route is the easiest to stumble into, is because exercise is just a good way to become healthy, both physically and mentally. Hisao's heart condition has irreversibly changed his life, and he's honestly quite depressed over everything that's happened to him. It just makes sense that Emi was the one that helped him get back on his feet again. If a girl without legs is able to be the fastest person on the track team, what's stopping me from just going on a run? There's also the fact that out of all the girls, Hisao and Emi are the most similar to each other. There's actually quite a few parallels between the two. We can start off with the easy one. Hisao and Emi are one of the few characters who weren't born with their disability. Actually, wait, no, that's not entirely correct. Fucked up my video already. Emi lost her legs in a car accident, more about that later, but Hisao has a congenital heart muscle deficiency. Congenital meaning from birth. The more accurate statement is that Hisao and Emi's disabilities didn't appear until later in their life. Up until high school, Hisao had been living with zero complications, his heart attack with Iwanako being the first time his arrhythmia was discovered. So while most of the other girls had their disabilities from birth, besides Hanako because you can't really be born with third-degree burns, Hisao and Emi had to adjust to their new disabilities, both going through rehab after their life-changing events. Both of them lose themselves in a shared hobby that causes them to occasionally ignore their health. Hisao, in an attempt to get to the track faster than Emi, these two are so cute together, forgets to take his own medicine, which of course causes the third heart flutter while he's with Emi. Emi, on the other hand, has a large part of her character be defined by wanting to hide her pain from others. When Emi injures herself from overusing her prosthetics, she tries to play it off in fear that the doctors will force her to stop running, which unfortunately causes her legs to get an infection and temporarily locks her into a wheelchair. Womp womp. Both of them have become quite intimate with death, in more ways than one. I think it's safe to say that if even one thing went wrong during their accident, Hisao and Emi could have lost their lives. If Iwanako wasn't there when Hisao had his attack, or if the paramedics had been just a moment too late for Emi, we might not be seeing them today. But as we know, they did survive. They were able to get back on their feet and start running forward, even if their heart tried to stop them or their legs wouldn't let them. Even after all that had happened, these two are okay. Or at least, that's what they tell themselves. Because while the Hisao and Emi we know are alive, the Hisao and Emi from before the accident weren't so lucky. What they lost on their fateful day wasn't just their heart or their legs, but their past as well. Hisao is unable to return to his old life, his heart not only being physically unable to return to his old school, but also emotionally closing himself off after being abandoned by his old friends. Emi had not only lost her ability to run in her car accident, but also the very person that had got her into running. The very person that was driving the car on that day. Her long departed father. Both characters pretend that they've moved on, forcing themselves to run forward and never look back. When Hisao was given a chance to reconnect with a letter from Iwanako arriving in the mail, Hisao threw it away, unable to even finish what Iwanako had to say. It doesn't matter whether she actually wanted to reconnect or not, what's important is that Hisao couldn't even stand being reminded of what he had lost, which parallels greatly with Emi, a girl who says she wasn't affected by her accident. Emi values independence. She was the one that made it through the strenuous rehab. She was the one that became the fastest thing on no legs. She is the one that has to shoulder her night terrors, to shoulder the PTSD all by herself. The one person she could rely on was ruthlessly ripped away from her. So all Emi has now is herself. Both characters close themselves off from the outside world. After the heart attack, Hisao had basically given up on happiness, unable to properly interact with those around him. While his friends aren't great for abandoning him, Hisao made little effort to even talk to them when they visited. When he is finally able to read the letter, we see the regret from both Iwanako not being able to say "don't give up," and Hisao not properly talking to those he has now lost. Emi was the one that had saved Hisao. She taught him how to run again after his heart had stopped him in his tracks. But that same running is what stops Emi from facing her own past, losing herself in the adrenaline, distracting herself from her own misery. Now that she knows how easy it is to lose someone you love, Emi does the only thing she knows how to and runs away from others. She builds up walls, protects her heart, makes sure nobody else gets too close, else they get ripped away from her as well. But just as Emi was determined to help this gloomy transfer kid improve his health, Hisao was determined to help this scared track student let people into her heart again. Not because either one is trying to play the hero, but because the two of them are madly in love, and want their partner to know it's okay to rely on them. Hisao and Emi are two very similar characters, from how they ended up at Yamaku to the way they handle their own trauma. Both of them are able to support each other in their time of need, to help each other get back on their feet, even with a heart that could stop at any time, even without the legs you need to simply stand. The both of them are able to lift each other up, stand at the start of the line, and learn to run all over again.